So anyway, let's go ahead and move on with the talk. The reason I wanted to do this conspiracy theorist topic is because we periodically get a flood of emails on a specific topic, and I guess it relates to how popular a specific clip is on YouTube at the time. But we've had a couple of people write to us promoting their favorite conspiracy theories. So I want to give you some examples of some stuff we get in email. Okay, so we had a guy write to us a few months ago, and he has this theoretical model, a cosmological model, that he claims is better than the Big Bang Theory. And he wanted us to review it. And so I asked him, hey, did you submit this for peer review from people that are qualified to do it? And his response was, well, the scientific orthodoxy won't let him publish his ideas because they're just too threatening. So, and another theme that we periodically get is on vaccines. Vaccines are a plot by Big Pharma that's designed to keep us from the knowledge that all we need to do to remain healthy and prevent disease is get sufficient vitamin D3 and maybe drink some colloidal silver. Never mind that it turns you blue. And colloidal silver is actually a good disinfectant. It actually does have antimicrobial properties, but only when applied topically. There's no evidence that it actually does that when you drink it. So please don't drink it. And a big one is 9/11 was an inside job, and the proof is that the U.S. government has previously engaged in conspiracy theories. Okay, plus zeitgeist. Okay. Christianity is a big conspiracy designed to keep everyone in line. The leaders of the major religions all know this, but they're sworn to secrecy. And zeitgeist.
I see a theme.
And HIV doesn't cause AIDS. HIV is actually a harmless virus. But Big Pharma and the CDC need you to believe that it causes AIDS. They use this to control certain segments of the population, for example, gays, and to generate big profits for Big Pharma and for genocide. And it's actually the antiretrovirals that cause AIDS. If you just exercise, take your vitamins, especially D3, eat an organic vegan diet and reduce your stress, you won't die from AIDS. So these are some of the conspiracy theories that we get in email. And of course they all want to chastise us for not thinking more critically, because we're being just like the theists when we reject their theories. So that brings us to the question of why do people believe this crap? Well, it's basically a defense mechanism. Okay? Conspiracy theories help people resolve the cognitive dissonance that they feel when some facts challenge their belief systems. Okay? And when you add cognitive bias to that, that makes sure that any new information that would challenge the theory either gets discounted or they overlook it. So people tend to discount information that disconfirms their beliefs, and they overinflate the importance of any information that tends to support their beliefs. And this is all born of a need to find some meaning in something that may otherwise be just an inexplicable event. People need to feel like they can identify a cause for something. You see this a lot with, for example, parents of autistic kids who want to point to, a cause, even though there might not be, a definable answer that we can point to.
And I just want to say, with something like that, that's what makes me especially, I sometimes will say there's a special place in the darkest part of my black atheist heart for certain people, and for people that would take advantage of somebody who is desperately vulnerable to find some solution to an ill person in their family, especially a child. I have no sympathy for that person whatsoever, as far as whoever would take advantage of that. There's just nothing you could impose on them that would be too merciless.
Right, and when you look at what happens when people employ these kind of defense mechanisms, often they're feeling socially isolated and particularly disempowered by whatever is going on. And so they're looking for something that alleviates these feelings. And what they find often with other conspiracy theorists is that they get this communal reinforcement. So they've got this community of other people that believe the same thing. And so this sort of is like a self-reinforcing thing. And that kind of points back to the number of zeitgeist believers who contact us, they're very enthusiastic about this, and they eagerly solicit our approval of their beliefs.
And can we just say one more time that that is debunked on the blog?
Yes.
So there's no need to write to the list. You can go to the blog, look it up, see the opinions on it. It's been stated publicly. Yeah. So feel free to not email our list about Zeitgeist and go to the blog and check the response.
Yeah, we've not been subtle about our opinion of Zeitgeist. However, it's interesting the number of very hostile responses we get from people who find out that we don't share their beliefs. And again, there's this need to believe that there's some agency behind these events, whether it's 9/11 or, my kid is autistic and I don't know why, and
it's intelligent agency.
Right.
Like you say, it's conspiracy. It's not. This isn't just it's some other virus causing this or that. It's that. I mean, it's like there's this sort of conscious control you're talking about.
Yes, and it's something that they are privy to that perhaps other people aren't. And then it's actually related to pareidolia, which is this tendency in humans to attribute, to see patterns where none exist, actually. And so it's the same thing that produces, the Virgin Mary in a grilled cheese, or, Jesus in a dog's butt or something. So that's one of the reasons people do it. It's basically a defense mechanism. So how do you avoid falling victim to a conspiracy theory or some other unscientific explanation for something? It's basically Occam's razor. Does the alternative explanation that you're proposing explain more of the evidence than the generally accepted theory or mainstream theory? If it doesn't, then you probably should reject that. Okay. Logic. Does the theory you're proposing depend on logical fallacies? And often what we see with some of these conspiracy theories is that it absolutely depends on logical fallacies. When confronted with evidence that the facts don't fit their theory, a lot of people resort to ad hominem attacks or some other logical fallacy. Next, is there a clear standard, as it goes to methodology, is there a clear standard for what does and does not count as evidence in support of your theory? If you can't clearly articulate what does and doesn't support your theory, then it's probably not very valid. An example of this was this whole repressed memory thing that was going on back in the 80s, where if you couldn't remember being sexually abused as a child, that meant you were sexually abused,
right? And
you repressed it, and there was this broad definition of what the symptoms were, and odds are, if you broaden the definition enough, then you're going to have some symptoms there, and that gets us into falsifiability. At some point, there's so many things that could support the theory that it becomes unfalsifiable. The magnitude of the conspiracy is another big one. If the success of the conspiracy depends on huge numbers of people being in on it, it's probably not going to be successful. And the other point to make here is that conspiracies are rarely successful. Even those that are at some point successful, people generally find out about it. So if there are no whistleblowers coming forward, if they never come forward, that's not an evidence that there's a conspiracy going on. You actually have to have hardcore evidence that something is happening here. And then, of course, you have to evaluate the expertise of those making a claim. So if someone's proposing an alternative explanation for something, look at their expertise. If they are delving into some kind of scientific theory, claiming, for example, that evolution's a hoax and they've got some evidence to back it up, if their doctorate is in religious studies, then you can probably safely discount what they're saying, because they don't have the relevant education and expertise to make that, that claim. So just make sure, if you don't have the education and expertise to properly evaluate the evidence, then you have to rely on experts to do it for you. So make sure you properly vet your experts before you accept their claims.
Well, and also even somebody that has, I would say, that has valid credentials, you want to look at how does that align with other people who have the same credentials in the field. Like, how are they looked at and viewed in their in their relevant field.
Exactly, because it is possible to have the relevant education and expertise and then be regarded as a complete crank by the others in your field.
Or simply be at odds.
Yeah.
With, consensus.
Yeah.
Which, and that doesn't make you wrong, but it does mean that if I'm not an expert, that's something I want to consider.
Right.
Okay.
So, that's pretty much what I wanted to hit on. That should be enough to poke a hornet's nest.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get some letters, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So should we go with calls?
Let's go with some calls. We've got Caesar in Queens, New York.
Queens, New York.
Caesar in Queens, New York.
Okay, I'm putting that on hold. I don't know what's going on with that line.
Yeah, that's weird. Let's see, you want to go to John in Canyon Lake?
Yeah, we'll give John a try. That's on line 4?
Line 4.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, John.
Hi there.
John, you're on the air.
Yes, hello.
Hey.
Hi. What I would like to say is, number one, you were talking about conspiracy theories and the Big Bang, and it's funny because here's science, and it pushes forward this definition of the Big Bang, and yet science has also proven that sound doesn't carry in space in a vacuum. So really, I think it would more or less be called the Big Flash, wouldn't it?
Well, the Big Bang wasn't the original name of the theory. That was actually proposed by, I guess, was it
a detractor?
Yeah, it was
meant to be kind of like making fun of it.
Yeah, it was part of a debate. It was meant to be making fun of it. So.
Well, I just thought ironic that science's explanation, the name of it itself is kind of a catch-22 scenario. But besides that, the reason why I called is because I feel like atheism as a whole is kind of like a white elephant in the room. It seems that the movement is very small. The groups that are out there, they don't seem to have much organization or money to advance their deals, and their deal is non-belief. That's almost something not even to promote, but at the same time, it's dealing with the issues of the majority, which is the religious Christian population of our country, the United States. And basically, it's kind of difficult to accept being an atheist, first of all, because you have to take a step back from the general concept of reality, which is there a guy in heaven who cares about us and is going to take care of us and look after our needs, and after we die we go to a better place? Or is this all fallacy and it's not true? So people who believe it are either mentally ill or delusioned, and so you take this step back from that and you say, okay, if I don't believe this to be true, then I have to come to accept the fact that 80 or so % of the population of this country is delusional or insane.
They're just simply not thinking about it, I think, most of them. And, I mean, you go with what you've been raised with. It's just like being raised racist. You could go to, for example, certain countries where you have, like, big degrees of tribal infighting, and you'll see a lot of, like, racial tensions there. It's just how people are raised. And so that majority of people in that region aren't going to touch it.
I agree with that. And as an atheist, you have to come to the exception that really you're the outsider. Mm-hmm. You're the one who doesn't fit in society. And that's a hard thing to accept, because that's the way I feel anyways. Well, I feel that I don't really fit in society.
You're also I see you're in Canyon Lake, Texas. So region makes a huge difference to how you feel about being an atheist. There are places where nobody even gives it a second thought, depending on the city. But you're right. I mean, there are unfortunately still areas. We get more letters than I would like to see from people saying, I don't dare let anybody find out, or I let somebody find out I thought I could trust, and now the whole community is like ostracizing me, or I'm being picked on at school, or so it can be tough depending on where you live. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean the really heartbreaking emails that we get are from kids who, come out as atheists to their parents, and then they get rejected by their families, and told, if you don't go to church, I'm not going to pay for your college, or something like that.
Yeah, we actually just got one this week saying that.
Yeah, and so those are pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and you feel under this immense pressure that whenever you're in society, you go out to make friends or whatever, and it seems like religion is always brought into the equation of any friendship or any association that you have with people, and you really have to be careful about how you respond to the questions that people ask you, because it can result in them alienating you from their friendship or all kinds of things, which I'm sure you're all aware of and everything.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm just amazed that there is not more interaction on the part of the community, the atheist community, as you call it, or the free thinker community or whatnot, to go out and organize to create more social networks.
There are some. I just had jotted down CORE. The Coalition of Reason is a national network that's being very, very aggressive in going city to city and promoting all. They're like supporting all sorts of moves towards marketing and advertising and putting on bus ads and billboards. And a lot of times when you see articles on the internet about a billboard going up in a city or a bus ad going, it's the Coalition of Reason that has come in and is promoting this. So there is if you want to support something like that, that's doing something like that, you might check out their site and just see if that's something you could get behind.
Well, and
I would love to even wear a T-shirt, but I'm afraid I would get shot.
Well, the other thing is that we just had the Texas Free Thought Convention in Dallas just this past weekend. Last weekend, I was there. It was well attended, extremely well done. So all the free thinker and atheist groups in Dallas, great job. And it's going to be in Houston next year. So you might want to think about looking that up and attending that, because I think you would come away with a different view of what's happening, especially in Texas, in the free thought and secular groups.
Yeah, I feel a little bit for John, though. I mean, I understand that he can attend these events, but I think what he's saying is that in his day-to-day life, living in a small city in Texas...
Yeah, my wife is a Christian.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
And my people that work for me, they're Christians, and anything, it seems like anytime you want to discuss the topic, you get shut out, or whatever the case is. But it's just very frustrating, because I feel like I'm an outsider, that I don't belong, and that I feel like I live in an insane world, which kind of bothers me.
Well, I mean, one of the things that people use sometimes to cope with situations like this, and that you might want to try this, is basically take on the role of the anthropologist. So when they start talking about this stuff, you can just ask them questions about what they believe and why they believe it. Don't challenge their belief or anything, just ask them questions.
And this I do quite often.
Yeah, and the other thing is, a lot of people started a blog because they didn't have any other outlet. And
then it's kind of confusing for kids. You're trying to raise kids. One parent is Christian, one parent is an atheist. That's an incredible conflict.
Yeah, we get those letters too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a situation which I find very difficult to deal with. I wish they had a group up here where I live in the middle of nowhere, I guess. But
so start one.
Yeah, I would like to. You just don't know how to go about it. That's the only thing. If you get identified in a small community, you might be signing your death.
Yeah. Well, there are code words, I guess, you can use, like free thought group, or skeptics group, or
secular
a humanist group, or if you really don't want to come out and say atheist group or something like that.
Yeah, and I'll hang up here after this. But the last thing I have to say is, in all the years that I've studied religion and the Bible, it really has been very educational for me to review studies that have done on the writings and all that, where they come from, and it seems like it's an automatic understanding that it's a work of fiction and it came from mythology, and it should be easy for the average person to understand, and why the masses, the majority, don't, number one, investigate their own religion beyond the book in which it's printed, and number two, don't see that it's a work of fiction or work of mythology. It totally amazes me.
Well, they're told not to look.
Well, I was going to say, the answer to number one is indoctrination, and the answer to number two is the same as the answer to number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Right. Okay, should we try for Caesar again?
Sure. Let's see. Do I need to drop that one?
No, it'll go. And then just you get hit for number two.
Number two.
All right, we're trying again. Hi, Caesar. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, okay. So you guys could hear me?
Yes, we finally can hear you.
Oh, okay. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I'm a believer, and I like to start out asking you guys a question. It's an honest question, and I hope you guys can give me an answer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really simple. The question is, what is the evidence that makes your atheism true?
Well, my atheism is that I don't believe a God exists, and the reason for that is that I don't see any evidence that a God exists.
Okay. So basically, it's
like the same I would respond to, for example, if you asked me what is my evidence that fairies don't exist, it would be pretty similar. I can't demonstrate to you that they don't, but since there's no reason to believe in them, I don't believe in them.
Yeah, but I was hoping for a scientific evidence because you guys are such...
Well, that is an application of science. It's appropriate to reject a claim for which no evidence has been presented.
Oh, well, I disagree on that, obviously. I think there is evidence.
So you think that it's appropriate to accept
he says he disagrees in that he says that there is evidence.
Well, then by all means, present your evidence.
Yeah, if there's sufficient evidence, then it would be believable.
No, I know, but the answers you gave me is that, so basically the answer you gave me is not really a scientific answer. It's not based on scientific evidence.
Yes, it is. It's based on the fact that we have no evidence
to examine, and therefore we cannot assert that this thing exists. I can't assert something exists for which I have no evidence that it exists.
Okay, well that's not really that's like a deduction you made. That's not really like a science.
There's no measurement of it. Okay, so in other words, if you cannot measure this thing, if there's no way to measure it, then there is nothing there. Okay, when you go to measure something and you get a zero measurement, you're dealing with something that we generally would call nothing. And what I'm saying is that so far the measurements, anything you would measure to determine that something exists, comes back negative. There's nothing there. So until I have something that demonstrates that it's there, if you can show a measurement that this thing actually does exist, that there is something there, then my assessment is that what we're talking about is nothing.
Okay, well obviously you're making the assumption that God is a physical being, that he could be measured.
Well, you're saying he exists. Well, yeah, that's what that means.
Existing doesn't mean it has to be physical.
What does exist in what way? And your mind is physical. If we destroyed your brain, your mind would stop, right? It's a function of your brain.
That's the assumption if you don't believe, yeah.
I can well, show me a mind that exists without a brain.
We can demonstrate that.
Yeah, I think you could, but all right. The thing is that that's really like I could talk about the evidence, but this has been done so many times before on your show.
Yeah, I know you've been on the show before. So.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that you guys are like you have heard evidence of the intelligent design.
That was shot down at Dover pretty humiliatingly.
Yeah, that's dead.
No, I don't know. Also,
you need to read. You need to read the court case Dover v. Kitzmiller or Kitzmiller v. Dover. That was very convincingly shot down.
Right. That's when they had their chance to make their case.
And the people who were proposing this idea of intelligent design were shown to be very dishonest. So.
No, I'm not talking about just the biology. I know what you're talking about with Dr. Behe. They went to court.
Yeah.
I'm also talking about the finally to universe, the evidence of intelligence in our universe, the fact that...
And all of those rely on logical fallacies or just...
Okay, can you give me a logical fallacy?
What? Of what?
Of why I believe the universe is intelligently made. Give me a logical fallacy.
Oh, why would I assume something? It's basically an argument from ignorance.
Well, you say that these are deductions that I make. It's not what I don't know; it's what I do know about the universe. Like
okay, then give me something that you do know that points to an intelligent universe.
Okay, life. Only life can make. Only life can make life, and intelligence is only like life can make life. Only life can make life, and intelligence comes from intelligence. It can't come from molecules in motion. You know what I mean?
And yet we have experiments that demonstrate that we can get the basic protein building blocks.
Yeah, that. Oh my God, that is almost laughable. That is just getting amino blocks. It's like saying I constructed a pile of rubble of bricks, therefore I have a house. You are so far away from a cell.
No. Caesar, the problem here is that you are so far away from understanding anything related to the science involved in this.
Okay, what don't I understand? You just told me I don't understand.
I can't give you a lesson in biochemistry.
Wait a minute, I know what an amino acid is. Amino acid is a building block for proteins. Proteins are three-dimensional structures for the cell. I know that basic stuff. And you're telling me, hello?
You're still on.
Sorry. And you're telling me that just because we can construct simple amino acids, therefore we explain life.
Well, if you go back a few years, it was that we couldn't construct these simple amino acids, therefore it wasn't possible to get life from non-life. And now that we know you can construct these simple amino acids, and there have been experiments where these things are self-assembling.
No, they have. Oh, they have. What do you mean, inside the cell or outside the cell?
Well, we've got experimental results that show these things are self-organizing.
Of course, they do inside the cell. Yeah, of course. I'm talking about outside the cell, without the mechanisms.
Well, what do you want, a step-by-step procedure?
No, but that's the thing, because if you're an atheist, right, you rely on these very detailed, bottom-up, explanations.
Okay, stop. Here, because if you want a step-by-step sequence of what happens to construct this.
I know that's impossible.
Okay.
No one has the answer
it's not
to this.
impossible. And it's in fact, I would say it's probable that given enough time, we will construct that step-by-step sequence.
Okay, that is atheism in the gas. You're placing your faith on scientism.
I'm not placing my faith on anything. I'm looking at the evidence. I have no evidence of a supernatural intervention anywhere. And unless you do, then you're done.
I know the argument you're making about the amino acids, that we can construct simple amino acids. I can say another thing about that. You're just talking about intelligent design, because you're talking about human beings who are intelligent agents manipulating the amino acids of a cell. That is not a natural phenomenon. That is an agency at work.
What makes you think that, okay, you're saying that there has to be some kind of intelligent agency involved in manipulating these, or it doesn't happen?
For the cell, yes, only because the cell is such a complicated machine.
Okay, so once we demonstrate that if you put the right basic ingredients together, that a cell is constructed, then you're going to drop that and move up?
First of all, even if you do that, I don't know when, if that's even possible. Maybe with future technology we can construct a cell. That's intelligent design. It hasn't been shown to happen naturally. It's been shown to happen with a brain, with technology and man. It has to be demonstrated naturally.
Can I interject just one thing?
Yeah.
You're not going to demonstrate it happening in nature, because the time frame that it happened in, the planet is no longer under those conditions. Exactly. We have an entirely different atmosphere. We have an entirely different construct of this planet than the time with which this would have occurred. So to look at the planet 4 billion years later, or I don't know, and say it doesn't happen today. Well, I don't see dinosaurs running around today either, and yet I know that there were dinosaurs at one point in history.
That's an argument. That's not scientific.
Well, no. Caesar, let me ask you something. Let me ask you a question. What piece of scientific evidence would refute your claim that intelligence is required to produce life?
Well, it is falsifiable. If science can find how life was created on its own without any intelligent interference, then that will be one piece of evidence against God, I suppose. It won't dissuade me, but
okay, so it won't make any difference. So there's no piece of scientific evidence that you would accept in this regard.
There is one, the universe. If you can show how the universe created without a God, then that's damning right there.
Well, we have the Big Bang Theory that's been confirmed.
Yeah, the Big Bang Theory. That's just an event. That doesn't mean it created itself.
So in other words, there's no scientific evidence that you would accept that would disprove this notion you have of an intelligent agency behind this?
I have another one. I'm a believer in the near-death experience or the out-of-body experience.
No. Answer the question, because is there any piece of scientific evidence that you personally will accept that will refute your claim that there's an intelligent agency behind all this?
That's true. You're talking, all right, can you give me one? Because
no, I'm asking you, what scientific evidence, is there any piece of scientific evidence that you will accept that will refute your claim that an intelligent agency is behind this?
Science has not shown whether God
It's a yes or no question.
Exist.
It's a yes or no question.
You're talking about scientific evidence, right?
Caesar, it's a yes or no question.
It's a loaded yes or no question. I can't answer it with just a yes or a no. I need to explain a little bit.
Is there any scientific evidence?
The simple answer is no, not right now.
Okay, then why are you claiming that you have science? Why are you attacking science? Your faith is based entirely on
something else.
On theological
misinterpreting. I'm a believer in the scientific world. Obviously, I mean.
No, you're not. You're rejecting its basic conclusions.
Everything you talked about, the amino acids and the proteins, I totally agree with you. Yeah, those things make life.
I mean, but isn't your basic argument that because you feel that life has not been explained, like how life initiated has not been explained, that you think that's evidence a God exists? I mean, is that not what you're saying?
That's evidence for intelligent design. Look, aliens could have done it. Look, aliens could have done it, right?
It could have happened naturally, correct? I mean, it could have. If we're talking about
aliens could have done it, but the aliens are another stopgap. Life doesn't explain.
Can you rule out that life could spark naturally in all circumstances that occur in the universe?
Oh yeah, because you know why? Because I could see
okay.
Let me explain. The cell is the most complicated piece of machinery in this universe. It's more complicated than your brain. It's more complicated. No, not really. I mean, brain cells. Right? It's more complicated than a space shuttle, right? Is a cell more complicated than the space shuttle?
I don't know. There's like a few components in there. I don't know that there's
a few components. A cell can do things that we can't even imagine right now for technology.
I think we can imagine them. Yeah.
We can imagine. We can't do it. We can. We can't even duplicate what a cell can do.
Well, the space shuttle does things I can't do, right? I can't orbit the Earth.
Yeah, but you're making a mockery out of the cell.
I'm not making a mockery. You're exaggerating the complexity of this thing.
Yeah, it's a complexity, and the only explanation for that complexity is intelligence.
How do you know that?
Okay, molecules. I know a little bit of molecules in motion chemistry, right? Okay. Now, there's two theories about how life started. Either it was a self-replicating molecule, or the other ridiculous theory that it's just self-assembled. That's almost I hope you don't believe that. I mean, that's utterly impossible.
How did you know self-assembled?
Yeah, all the parts of the, like Transformers, the movie.
No, it's not like that.
Yeah, it's not like that. Right.
A cell making itself out of raw materials is even worse than that. So I hope you don't believe that.
It evolves from simpler.
Okay, so you believe it evolved from the...
No, nobody's saying what they believe. We're just saying...
molecule, right?
I'm saying that even if we had no clue and no theories about how it happened, that's simply a big black hole of nobody knows.
Yeah, but I'm making a deduction here from what I do know about intelligence.
How can you say
intelligent mind? Like, I know a human being one day might be able to create a cell because he has a brain. He has a mind.
Do we have anything else here besides the argument from ignorance?
Caesar, what's your educational background, just out of curiosity?
Some college. I didn't graduate.
Oh, okay.
What does that have to do? The truth is the truth. I don't care if I get the truth from a fortune cookie or from Harvard. Everything that I said, right? Well, name one thing that's wrong with it.
You're using the argument from ignorance. That's the basic problem with it.
All right, the origin of life is a mystery. Of course it is, right? I don't have the answers.
Okay. But you're asserting it requires intelligence. You're asserting that.
Yes, you're
saying it requires intelligence while we don't know what caused it.
No, we don't know what caused it, but if you use deduction, if you know about what it takes to make these things.
Which we don't.
No, we don't. We don't know a lot about a lot of things.
So if you know, then, but we don't know, so how can you make assertions about something that we have no information about, like you and I?
The clues point to intelligence. The clues point to intelligence.
No, not when you don't know how it's done. If we don't know how it's done, we can't say it requires intelligence or not, because we don't know how it's done.
Okay, we do know there are machines inside the cell that does work, right?
Well,
yeah,
there's energy. I mean, it does stuff.
Obviously,
It
right?
does stuff,
And
okay.
the cell can take apart proteins, make proteins, generate energy.
Yeah, the
That's
sun does
machinery at
things too.
work, right?
Yeah.
Now, I only know of one place where machines can be created and put to work. That's through intelligence, through intelligent agents making.
Because you're saying that everything natural is intelligently informed.
That is a classic argument for ignorance.
Doesn't the sun produce energy?
Wait a minute. All right, you said, okay, that's an argument from ignorance. Wait,
Yes.
You're saying that, in other words, me deducing that it takes intelligence to create a machine is being ignorant?
No, but asserting that all things that function and do something, like the sun is a big flaming gas ball, to say that that can't happen
That's not a
naturally.
machine. That's
It's a big nuclear reactor, isn't it?
Huh?
It's a giant nuclear reactor, right?
You're talking about
The sun.
an explosion of gas? What?
We're talking about the sun.
The sun.
The sun?
Yeah.
But the sun is not a machine. It's not. It doesn't have machinery in it.
Isn't it a big reactor?
It's a machine?
You don't think a reactor is a machine?
Not the sun. The sun, those are natural forces at work. There's no machines in it. Nothing's built
Why do you
in
think?
the sun.
Why would you think that the
Energy is created
that what
from
goes
the sun.
on inside a cell is not natural forces at work?
Look, you
Those are
make an
normal
analogy
chemical
that the sun,
reactions.
with your argument, you could say fire is a machine. Come on.
Yes, and what from your argument I could, because you're saying that anything that functions is a machine.
No, not just, it's function with purpose, the cells, the functions inside the cell have purpose. They have jobs to do, okay? Because if they don't do those jobs, I'm sorry if I'm being hostile, I'm sorry.
You're not, you're being fine, your attitude's fine.
I mean, they have jobs to do, they have purpose, they're not mindless machines.
And you don't think that evolution drives what would appear to be
First of all,
a
evolution
purpose?
doesn't explain life. We shouldn't talk about it.
Well, no, but you're talking about purpose, and I'm saying that
explains the diversity of life.
and evolution also explains why things are geared toward something that would be like forced of
evolution
survival.
explains how life A could go to life B. I understand. I don't really disagree with evolution.
What do you disagree
But the purpose you're describing is an evolutionary function.
Yeah, all right. So you're talking. Are you talking about now the cell evolving from the single molecule, the single replicating molecule?
No, I'm saying that when you look at that cell and you say it has a purpose, you're looking at it as part of a construct of a larger organism.
My argument
A
was
cell by itself has no function that would be purposeful. Or
Yeah,
that could
the
even be
function is life, obviously. I mean, the cells are there to live. That is the purpose.
But different cells do different things in different parts of the body.
I'm talking about the machinery of the cells. You're talking about...
Okay, well, if you separate that from an organism, it doesn't really have purpose. It's just simply functioning for the sake of functioning.
So you tell me the machines inside the cells are just functioning for the hell of it?
If it's just a cell, yeah. What the hell is it doing? What is the purpose of it?
All right.
A cell in a petri dish, what is the purpose of that?
The purpose of the cell is going to divide and replicate.
Yes, it's going to do that. What's the purpose?
What's the purpose of replicating?
Or just sitting in a petri dish and even just dying. I mean, I don't care what it does. Whatever that cell does, what makes you think that there's a purpose to a cell in a petri dish?
The purpose of its life to continue.
No, it is alive, but what is the purpose of it?
The ultimate purpose of bacteria in a petri dish?
I don't know if it's ultimate, but what would be the purpose?
Is that even a question? I mean, what are you
I
talking
don't know.
about?
That's what I'm trying to find out. I don't know what we're talking about. That's my problem.
I'm talking about the machinery inside the cell, the little components, the little machines that do
Just
work.
runs the cell. How is that a purpose?
How are you defining machines inside the cell?
I don't know.
Yeah, the machines inside the cell are not
Like
a biologist,
mitochondria or...
the cell has components and machinery inside of it to do functions, to maintain life, and to like repair, energy production, transportation, defense, stuff like that, right?
Okay.
Okay. Those things have purpose because those machines were built for the function. Like let's say the DNA replicating, right?
Yeah.
The DNA itself cannot replicate, but it uses like a type of copy machine inside the cell. It reads the DNA and it splits it in half, and it creates its other missing half. That machine is purposely designed to do that job, because
No,
if
it
it
isn't.
wasn't...
No, it isn't. That's just biochemistry at work.
But yeah, biochemistry at work, I know, the machines are doing work. You're telling me, you're trying to convince me that chemistry has the power to do all this incredibly complicated stuff blindly, without direction.
Actually, no, wait. Actually, you're trying to convince us that there's a God. I mean,
Yeah.
this isn't the
We'll get to that, but you're trying to change the
biochemistry
subject.
show.
That's really a cheap tactic, you know.
Hey, you called us.
I know, but you're changing. I'm trying to. You're asking me for evidence and stuff. I'm trying to talk about, and then you want to switch gears here.
But I'm not making any claims.
Yeah, you're claiming this stuff all has a purpose and that it can't happen without some intelligence.
Have a function. The machines have a function.
They do
have a purpose.
things.
They have a function.
Okay, what? So you're saying that everything inside a cell had some kind of, it was created for some kind of purpose.
That's the only way it could have been done.
And how is the mitochondria created?
The mitochondria is its own cell. It's not part of the original. So it was kind of hijacked by these more primitive cells.
Gosh, I wonder how that happened and why, if there was an intelligent designer, the cell wouldn't have its own energy production capabilities without hijacking something else.
Maybe that was the way. Maybe that was the best way to do it. Who knows? I don't know.
But we can be sure that it could not possibly have ever happened via nature. Like that, we can rule that out right now, right? We know that that's impossible.
So say that again.
We can rule out. We can be sure that this is completely an unnatural process. That nature could never have done this.
The production of the cell.
Yeah, absolutely impossible that nature could have ever produced a thing like this.
By itself, yes.
By itself, the same nature that produces the entire, that functions as the entire universe. That amazing nature could never have done this.
Oh, of course, because chemicals. They're just like chemicals. Are like Lego blocks. They do more than Lego blocks, yes, I know, but they float around in the medium, in water. They collide, they decay.
They do all kinds of things. Chemical reactions are just myriad. I mean, nature is constantly doing all sorts of things all over the universe. Weird stuff that we're always finding new things. We've got these giant energy balls that are running all these planets and running all this, shooting out this energy in all these different environments and atmospheres. And you're saying that in all of that, life couldn't have been spawned. You're positive. You know that. You can rule it out right now because Caesar knows that that's an impossibility.
Yeah, no, because I know. Because you can know too if you really
believe in God.
No, this is intelligent design. I'm trying to prove intelligent design here.
Right, which is creationism.
It's creationism. It comes from
you can say aliens, but when you go to the Dover trial and you see the search and replace function didn't work and they just went creationism.
I'm not really a religious person, so I mean I believe.
But you've adopted a religious argument, so you're arguing for religion whether you're religious or not.
I'm not. You say you're putting words in my mouth. I just am not a religious person.
I am putting words in your mouth because this is a religious argument that you're using. It doesn't matter to me if you're religious.
Intelligent design is a religious argument. It is not a scientific argument.
It could be aliens could have done that.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but the intelligence I'm proposing, I don't really need to explain the intelligence.
Well, you kind of do. You kind of do.
You want to make assumptions
about it.
You do need to explain it.
I need to explain the explanation.
Yeah, because otherwise you have no cause.
That is, science would be impossible if that were true.
You have to. You're saying that you have an idea about a cause, but you're saying you know nothing about this cause.
I know some things about the cause.
Okay.
I mean, everybody knows. We're not living in a...
I don't know. Everybody knows. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people know. But wait a minute. You're telling me to explain the explanation. That is unscientific. If science did what you did right now, it wouldn't exist.
Well, then if you don't have a cause that you can define, aren't you just saying X did it?
I don't need to define the cause. I just need to show that the cause exists.
That would be great.
Yeah, exactly. And you're telling me that I need to explain the existence of God. All I need to do is explain that he's there. I don't need to explain his nature or why he's there, how he got there.
Can you demonstrate it's there? That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now through life.
No, you're telling me what you think. You're telling me what you think about a cause. I'm saying, can you demonstrate your cause? It actually exists. Because things that don't exist can't be the cause of other things. So I'm assuming you have some demonstration that the thing you're saying caused this exists.
Yeah, physical things, right? Well, now we're getting
something that exists
here.
Well, actually,
if it's not measurable, it's not there.
Oh, really? Like dark matter and dark energy, right? Can't measure those two things.
Well, yeah, actually, we've got pretty good evidence of those.
Yeah, but we don't even know what we're talking. Science doesn't even know what it's talking about. When
If you're going to say, wait, if you're going to say
knowledge of science, Caesar, how would you know?
If you're going to say a thing exists, you have got to be able to show something that measures.
Yeah, there needs to be clues, of course.
No,
you
have to have, yeah, something that you're measuring, that you're saying is that cause. Because if you can't demonstrate the cause, then we don't know that your cause exists.
You're talking about only things that can be measured can exist. How do you measure beauty then?
That's a subjective.
You're talking about an aesthetic. I mean,
yeah,
I guess.
But it exists, doesn't it? It's real.
It's a subjective evaluation.
It's conceptual in that it exists in your mind, and your mind exists as part of your brain. So
yeah, but you know, everything is energy, right?
No, not everything is energy.
Everything is not energy.
Matter.
Yeah.
Everything is not energy.
No.
Really? Or name one thing that's not energy.
Matter.
Matter is energy.
I would give that there's like matter/energy. I would accept that.
Yeah, all right.
Right? Everything is energy. Even your thoughts are energy. They have to be. They can't be ghosts. You don't believe in that, right?
Yeah, I think it's all measurable.
Yeah, okay, so everything is energy. When I think of something as beautiful, like a piece of art, right? Obviously, there's some sort of energy going on in my mind. You can't measure it.
So you're making an assessment, correct.
Yeah.
Well, right there. I could give you many more analogies why everything that's not measurable does not mean it's, you know.
You just finished saying that it's produced by energy. Is that not measurable?
Yeah.
You know what? Ultimately, it is, but you do not have the access. You're just guessing right now. You don't know.
We agreed that it was all energy. Well, you just finished saying that it was that your thoughts are energy. Did you not?
Yes.
Is not an assessment of beauty a thought?
Yes, it is, and it's energy. And measurable by what are you measuring? Energy. You're measuring energy. I mean, how do you even grasp energy? Like, you don't even know. Look, I'm sorry.
We measure energy in different ways. We have like heat that we can measure in degrees of Fahrenheit. We have what else would be other forms of energy that would be measurable? Yeah, I mean, I know like heat, for example, because I cook. So it's like I'm measuring Fahrenheit.
There's electrical energy.
So yes, we do measure energy all the time, and you can hook a person up to a freaking brain scan and measure their brain activity. What's going on there?
Yes, and in fact, when you're looking at something that you find beautiful, we can put you inside an fMRI machine
and see if you really find it beautiful.
And look at which parts of your brain light up in response to this thing that you find beautiful.
Really doesn't. That's not really. I mean,
it's a measure of the energy that your brain is expending in evaluating, you know, this view, this thing you're viewing.
That's really, you know, I don't know why we've been talking about this. We really gotten. I know what you're saying. Yeah, it is measurable, but you're telling me that God is not measurable.
No, you are. You're saying
by our standards, by our physical.
You are the one who made that claim.
Wait, I'm asking
he's not matter and energy. First of all, well, I don't know if it's energy or what kind of energy, spiritual energy. I don't know what you want to call it.
I agree that we can't say what it is because there's nothing there to measure.
But it doesn't matter. I don't need to explain him anyway. I don't need to explain his nature to you. I just need to explain. I need just to show.
You asked why I don't believe in a God, and I said because there's nothing there to measure. And so, I mean, do you remember the beginning of this conversation? There's nothing there to measure, so it equates. I can't tell the difference between your God and nothing. And you're not giving me anything to show me.
There's a lot of things in the world you can't measure.
Right? You just finished saying everything is energy. How do we not measure energy? You just finished saying everything is energy.
You know, God, he's not a thing. Everything means every physical thing. God is not a thing.
If you can't measure it, how can you say anything about it? How do you know anything about it?
If you can't measure, if I can't measure God, how do I know he exists?
No, how do you know anything about it? If there's nothing there to examine, how do you know anything about it? How do I know how can I speak authoritatively about a fairy if I have no measurement of a fairy? I can't tell you how tall they are. I can't tell you what color wings they have. I can't tell you how many wings they have.
You know what? You can't do that, but maybe you can show me they exist through evidence, through clues.
Like, the fairies, my backyard, I have flowers that bloom. The fairies make those flowers bloom. That's what causes the flowers to bloom. I can show you pictures of flowers blooming in my backyard. Will that convince you?
There's probably a better explanation than that.
Like what? You think nature does it?
Yeah, I do, because you answered the question, if nature was intelligent design, yeah, it could do
Clearly those flowers bloom with a purpose. You can't measure beauty.
No, you can't measure beauty, nope.
Then how do you explain my flowers?
Yes.
Huh? Wait, this is exactly the problem I have with you atheists. I mean, you bring up an honest question, right? And then it devolves into a mess.
All we've ever had going on is an argument from ignorance. That is what this entire conversation has been about.
All right, I know why you're saying that, but the thing is that you haven't. All right.
If you recall, early on, you asked me about what fallacies.
What I'm talking about the cell. I know what you're saying. It's a mystery. Yes, it is a mystery. Nobody knows how it was done, right?
Okay.
But what I do know that's not an argument from ignorance. It's from what I do know about the limits of chemistry, of matter in motion, and what I do know what intelligence is able to do. The best explanation for the complexity of the cell, and complexity, and the cell is the most complicated thing in this universe, by the way. Okay.
But you already said that. That's
all right. Go ahead, Caesar.
Okay. The only thing capable of producing such complexity is intelligence, because
what?
Because chemicals in motion will not collide in the perfect order and sequence to produce anything working at all. It won't even. It will just fall apart. It's like Legos in the ocean.
Why do you think that most people, that the field of abiogenesis has not put forward intelligent design as their consensus theory of how the cell came to, that life came to exist?
They put nothing forward.
Yeah, they have theories. No, I'm talking about their theories. But what I'm saying is, if it is so clear that this is that nature cannot do this, and it is a product of intelligence, why would the people who are the most qualified to understand this data, who have the best access to the best data, not be thinking what you're thinking?
Well, first of all, you do have proponents of intelligent design.
They are not the consensus by any stretch. By any stretch. That is not the prevailing theory. That is not even...
There is no theory.
There are theories.
There is no theory to abiogenesis.
Yes, there are.
There's only hypothesis and imagination.
No.
Nothing is testable when
Nobody is putting forward that we need to posit an intelligence to explain this. Nobody that is representing a consensus of this field. And so I have to ask you why you think that is.
Yeah, first of all, there are scientists who do propose intelligent design. There are not many. But
there are not many. It is not the consensus. Why do you think most of the people who have access to this data and most of the people who understand this data do not agree with what you're saying?
No, those things, they're doing it because they're biased, obviously. They're materialists. Their jobs depend on it. They don't want to posit a God because they think A, B, and C are wrong. But
but wait, you're saying they don't have to posit a God. They would only have to say that some intelligence did this and that they wouldn't have to reach for religion. So that doesn't really fly.
No, you know what? They could bring up aliens, and you know what? I will entertain that idea. If they say that aliens designed life, then I could be like, you know what? That is believable.
So you'll only say that whatever they put forward is believable if it agrees with what you've already come to, like what you've already assessed.
Yeah, but the premises that I brought up about the complexity of the cell and how you telling me that nature cannot do you're telling me that nature can do those complicated things with enough time.
No, I'm telling you that I have not ruled that out because I don't think that we can rule it out.
But that takes faith. You know why? Because we have zero evidence.
Until somebody demonstrates to me a reason that we have to rule that out, it's open. That is an open door.
You know what? I know. All right, you believe it, right? You believe it, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I have to apologize.
We're almost done here.
But it was the only theist caller, I think.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So. That was Caesar. You got the whole show.
Yeah.
And we have to sign off. And thank you to the cast and crew. And apologize to the other callers. Feel free to email us.
Yes, and join us at Threadgills after the show.
Yeah,
we'll be there at 6.
That's 301 West Riverside.
Yep.
And that was a quick hour.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you for your call, Caesar. I'm sure it was appreciated.
All right. Am I still in the air? Yeah, I just want to apologize if it got a little heated.
No, not at all. Fine. You're absolutely fine. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. Wow.
You want to do post-show calls?
Yes, please. Let's talk to these people if we can.
Let's see. We've got...
Oh, my God. I feel so bad.
Let's go to... it looks like line number 1 dropped.
Did he drop?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Let's go to 3.
Okay. This is Julie. You're on.
Hi.
Hey.
Welcome to the world of in-your-face New Yorker.
Yeah.
Right now I gotta say that I'm a little embarrassed about my city after listening to that guy.
He's a frequent flyer, so don't worry about it.
Oh my God, he took up the whole bloody show.
I know.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to talk about, you guys were talking about the beginning about conspiracy theories, like with the whole vaccine and autism thing. I just want to tell everybody who's listening to the show, if anybody buys into that, I have Asperger's syndrome, form of high-functioning autism, and I can assure you that I was born that way.
Yeah.
And, I mean, anybody who has, it's like being gay. And, the other thing is, like, it's not like when somebody has autism.
Oops. Hang on. Hold on. We're trying to... To put on hold? Okay, and then what are we doing? Well,
Hang on, Julie.
we're trying to... I suddenly got feedback on a call. Uh-oh. I think we lost her.
I think we lost
Well,
Julie.
who's on 4? Christian.
Hang on.
Wait, put Christian on. Let's just do 4.
All right.
Christian, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hey, you're on.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, thank you for holding.
Oh, yeah, hey, no problem. Hey, I just want to, first of all, thank you guys for everything you do, because you guys are making a big difference out there, whether you guys realize it or not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you for everything you guys are doing what you're doing. But I just kind of wanted to comment a little bit on the conspiracy theory thing. I was at a festival in my town here a couple days ago and ran into a Christian who was out there passing out, his flyers for his church. And we kind of got into the whole thing of evidence, the Bible, whatever. And I told him, I thought of the whole Noah and the Ark thing. And I said, I always grew up hearing that, oh, yeah, they found Noah's Ark, they found pieces of it, this and that. And as I've been doing research, since I became an atheist, I've realized that, there is no evidence. And the guy, proceeded to tell me that, oh, yeah, they did find it, but, scientists want to hide it and they want to keep, they don't want to give the glory to God. They want to keep the glory from God and hog it all to themselves and things like that. So, I had to go into it with him a little bit about the whole, like the conspiracy thing, like everybody's trying to hide this God thing. And I kind of brought up one of the points Matt had always made is that, with the Nobel Peace Prize, with all the research money that would be awarded, things like that, why would somebody want to try to hide that? That'd be define the moment, and the whole, just pretty much the whole aspect of human existence, you know what I mean? That'd be like one of the most groundbreaking points of civilization, of life itself within the whole world. Why would somebody want to hide that?
Not only that,
and,
but...
it just amazes me the things that these guys come up with, the excuses that they make to kind of protect their their whole thought process and why they believe it or not. It's amazing.
The idea behind, Noah's Ark, that we could have constructed a wooden ship back then...
Right, you killed every animal on the planet.
Yeah.
That exists today. Every animal that exists today.
And, something that, even if you accept the claims of the size from the Bible, that's larger than any wooden ship that we've ever been able to construct that was actually seaworthy. And the largest one actually foundered, and that one had like iron, like cross beams in there.
Okay.
Cross ties, which didn't exist back when Noah's Ark was allegedly built.
Bronze Age.
With early Bronze Age tools and technology, we're supposed to build a wooden ship that won't founder at sea. It just isn't possible. So I know a lot of engineers would be intensely interested in that if it was ever found. So, yeah.
Yeah. I had another thing too about mass challenge, about something that couldn't be obtained by secular means, something that religion couldn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that only religion.
Yeah, and the only thing that I could come up with one thing, but I know to us atheists, it's bullshit. But the one thing that religion can provide that secularism can't provide is a means to heaven. If you think about it. I know to us it's BS, but
Yeah.
That would be the one thing, you know, if it's all were true, you know, if the whole Bible thing were true and all that crap. But that would be the one.
Yeah, I think the way Matt usually words that question, I think, does have something to do with like a tangible benefit.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Something you can show me, it really does.
Yeah. But, okay, well, yeah, I just want to kind of touch on that point since you guys, you know, had the topic going today.
Right.
But, yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate everything you guys do, and continue listening.
All righty.
Right, thanks.
Bye.
All right, bye.
So just hit this and
or just, I guess you can drop it.
drop. Okay.
There.
Okay. And then do we want to see if one is...
Are they actually on?
I don't know.
David, are you on?
Hello?
Hello. Who is it? Is this... We've got it listed as David, but I'm not sure that's correct.
I have nothing to do with David or Craig. I'm someone from Finland.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Once again, so I was wondering about your current discussion. It seems to be pretty heated from pretty little things. I don't really understand why anybody would want to argue about something like that. And also, I would like to point out that we have a little bit of a atheistic thing going on here in Finland. We have people resigning from our state church.
Yeah, we actually brought that up the first part of the show.
Oh, you actually had it already, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if you were one of the ones that sent us the emails, but if you were, thanks.
I don't think I was it, but I really do think that this discussion, especially on IRC, it's too damn heated for this sort of thing. I mean, this is basic science, basic scientific principles. I don't understand why this would take a lot of this.
Yeah, it's hard to understand, I'm sure, when you don't live in a country where people hate science that disagrees with their religion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
All right, well, thank you for your call.
Okay, we'll probably both sleep.
All right, thank you. Thanks, bye. Bye. All right.